Hello, here we are again, and today we're going to make peach wine. This is, as we've said before on other videos, a straightforward recipe to follow. So prior to starting, let's see what equipment we need. For the first stage, we're going to use a 2-gallon bin with a sealable lid, a set of scales, some measuring spoons and a 2-pint measuring jug. All the equipment needs to be sterilised, and to achieve this we've used a Camden tablet and water solution. To make this gallon of wine, the ingredients we need are 3.5 pounds of peaches, a pound of large seeded raisins, the juice of 2 lemons, 3 pounds of sugar and a Sauterne wine yeast. The additives are 2 teaspoons of pectolase, half a teaspoon of grape tannin, 1 teaspoon of yeast nutrient. These ingredients and additives will be listed at the end of this video, so do not worry about making notes just now. For all our recipes we like to use a yeast starter, a video for which you can find on our YouTube channel. So, let us now start to prepare the fruit. Having washed the peaches, we must quarter them and remove all the stones. Now these peach quarters go into a blender. If you don't have a blender, cut them into smaller pieces and use a potato masher, but you'll have to work very hard to make sure that it is well pulped. In fact, the ones that I have done today were very hard, as some of them we have in Northern Europe, and we had to cut them into smaller pieces than quarters. And to make the blending a bit easier, add some cold water, only about a quarter of a cupful, into each blenderful, and you'll find it cuts a lot more easily. Now, mince the raisins and transfer them and the blended peaches into the fermenting bin. When all the fruit is in the bin, add the sugar. Now we must pour on 5 pints of boiling water. Now it's boiled, we can pour on 5 pints of boiling water and stir to make sure that all of the sugar is dissolved. We'll need to leave this to cool before the next step, so we place the lid on the bin and leave for 24 hours until the yeast starter is ready. So here we go. This is the first 3 pints, so there will be 2 more pints to come when it's boiled. As I said earlier, there will be 2 more pints, and here they are. Stir and make sure that the sugar is all dissolved. Easy to tell because it stops grating on the bottom of the bin once it's dissolved. Now place the lid on the bin and leave it to cool for 24 hours, when we should be able to add the additives and the yeast starter. Hello again, as they say. Here we are 24 hours later. Now that the fruit in the bin has cooled and the yeast starter is active, we can look to the additives and the juice of the lemons. Firstly, the grape tannin, which is half a teaspoon. Now, as in all our measurements where spoons are mentioned, they are all level spoons. One teaspoon of yeast nutrient. And 2 teaspoons of pectolase. Now, the juice of the lemons. And now the last half. And now lastly, the yeast starter. Once I've stirred all those additives in, as you can see, the starter is certainly active. To quote my old adage, waste not, want not. they are all stirred in with the starter. The bin should now be left covered in a warm place to ferment for 5 days, stirring daily with a clean wooden spoon. Hello again. Here we are 5 days later. The must in the bin should now be removed from the pulp and the fermentation process continued. For this we need a clean gallon jar, a funnel, a mesh straining bag and an airlock with a rubber bung. We pour the contents of the fermenting bin slowly through the straining bag and the funnel into the gallon jar. There's no need to squeeze the straining bag, as we want to reduce the amount of fine pulp being transferred to the jar, and in this particular recipe there is quite a lot of fine pulp. Once all the liquid has been transferred to the jar, we top up with cold water to the neck if necessary, and in this instance it is necessary just to top it up a little. The jar will then be placed back into a warm area and left to ferment to dryness or a specific gravity of 1000 or less. The length of time that the wine will continue to ferment will be dependent on a number of factors, such as the conditions and how much sugar there is left to ferment away. Here we are again, just over a month later, and to examine the wine we must see if there are no bubbles in the airlock and we think that the wine has finished fermenting. It should be checked before the next step. To check the wine we will need a hydrometer and a clear trial jar. We must now siphon some of the wine from the gallon jar into the trial jar and take a reading with the hydrometer. To take a reading, we must lower the hydrometer into the trial jar and spin it gently. If the reading shows a specific gravity of 1000 or less, then the fermentation is probably complete. So we taste the wine, and if it is to your liking or our liking, add 1 crushed Camden tablet. And the reading is 998. So to all intents and purposes, as far as we're concerned, the fermentation is finished. Now I said crush the tablet. If you have a powder version of Camden Camden tablets, then just use 1 quarter level teaspoon of the powder and place it into the wine and replace that you took out to read the gravity reading. Now that will need to leave for 24 hours, and when the 24 hours is up, that wine will need to be racked into another gallon jar and left to mature and clear. Hello again. Here we are 24 hours later, and we can now rack the wine into another clean gallon jar using this siphon tube attached to the end of your plastic tubing. Siphon the wine in and into the new jar, taking care not to transfer, or not too much anyway, of the sediment from the bottom of this jar. So let's go ahead. Right, having achieved that really quite well, we now need to top up with cold water the jar and fit a bored cork plugged with cotton wool. We use a bored cork with cotton wool in it because it saves having to use an extra airlock or another airlock, and allows the airlock to be used for other things. The wine will now start to settle and clear when placed into a cooler environment. This wine will normally clear by itself and will not need anything added. Leave the wine to settle and rack again after 3 months. When the wine is clear, it can be transferred to clean bottles and left to mature for at least 6 months before tasting. The transfer is done using the same siphoning process before, being careful to leave at least half an inch between the bottom of the cork and the top of the wine. We wish you all the best with your winemaking and hope that this process that you have watched today will help you. Our online winemaking help site is available to answer any questions that you may have and is a free service that we offer.